Looks definitely matter, but what exactly do we mean by looks? Is it the face? What about the body? And also height? Obviously, all of them matter, but how much? Let's dive into it. Let's begin with height. It's safe to say that every girl prefers tall men. I'm not saying that a short dude will get instantly rejected, but ideally they want a man who is considered tall. I said considered and not is, cause it depends on which area of the world you live in. For example, where I come from, 6 feet is considered tall. In Netherlands, that's the average male height. So anyway, height definitely matters, but how much, and what is the desired height? There are two big categories of women. The first category has a strong preference for tall men, which means that a 6'2" guy, for example, would be quite higher on their list, compared to a 5 feet 11 inches guy. We could say that 5 feet 11 inches would be acceptable, and 6'2" is highly desired. The second group of women still care about height, but if you're over their standard they don't care too much. If for example they want their man to be 5 feet 10 inches and above, then a 6'2" guy and a 5 feet 11 inches guy won't be worlds apart in their eyes. But, and that's the important thing, both groups have a limit. Many girls will say the cliché, I just want him to be at least as tall as me, but this isn't the case. Watch a 5 feet 5 inches guy approach a girl of the same height. I guarantee you he'll get rejected 9 times out of 10. They usually want a guy who is at least 3 inches taller than them. So, now, let's break down the different height ranges. If you are below 5 feet 6 inches, then it's going to be tough. Your best bet would be to target really short girls, in hopes that they don't care that much. And again, they are rare, cause even very short girls generally want a tall guy. I'm sorry if it sounds harsh, but we're here for some realism and tough love. If you want to hear that even a 5 feet 4 inches guy can get pretty girls, then head over to the PUA stuff. Anyway, another thing you could do is travel to a country that has a very low average height. Maybe there you'll be considered close to average, and your chances will drastically go up. If you are around 5 feet 7 inches to 5 feet 8 inches, then you'll be considered short by most girls, but you'll still have some chances. If you have a very good looking face, then you're still in the game. If you have an average looking face or below that, then it'll be tough for you too. Now, if you're around 5 feet 9 inches to 5 feet 11 inches, then you're in the average height of most Western countries. Maybe some tall girls will still consider you short, but that's a minority. Most girls will be okay with your height, and if you're around 5 feet 11 inches dating a short girl, she will consider you tall. But generally speaking, no points deducted, but no points added either. If you're around 6 feet to 6 feet 1 inch, then you get some extra points. Let's say, plus 1 point out of 10. Most girls will consider you tall, and if you have a slightly above average face, then you're almost in the Chad territory. For example, if you're around a 6 out of 10 in the face department, and 6 feet 1 inch tall, then you'll be considered a 7 out of 10. I'd also like to make a comment about a cliché we hear all the time. The, quote-unquote, at least 6 feet tall cliché that we hear from some girls, is entirely psychological. In Europe, where I come from, many girls say they want a man over 1.8 meters, which is 5 feet 11 inches. It's because these are round numbers. There's literally no difference between a 5 feet 11 inches guy, and a 6 feet guy, especially for a 5 feet 5 inches girl looking up. It's entirely psychological. So if you're close to that limit, just round up a bit. No need to be 100% truthful to a girl who deceives you with makeup, high heels, etc. all the time. If you are around 6'2" to 6 feet 4 inches, then that's the sweet spot. You are considered tall by all girls, except maybe a WNBA center or something. Anyway, you'll definitely get some extra points for your height, and you're not in the too tall territory, which comes next. The few of you who are around 6'5" or 6'6" and above, you might face some problems. Nowhere near the problems that short guys face, but your height is not considered ideal by many girls. You should apply the opposite advice that I gave to the very short guys, which is target tall girls. Obviously, I don't think that a 6 feet 6 inches guy will get rejected due to his height, but the higher we go, the less attractive it becomes. I haven't heard any girl saying that she wants a 6 feet 9 inches guy. We could say that's a niche market. So, to sum up, I'd say that the ideal height would be around 6'2" to 6'5", but not higher than that. Then the second best would be around 6 feet to 6 feet 1 inch. I would put together the average height people with the extremely tall. Again, up to an extent. If you're a 7-footer, then it might be a little frightening for many girls. If you're around 5'7" to 5'9", then there's still some hope if you're good looking. And below that, your dating life will be hard to say the least. Again, these numbers are just an approximation. And I'd like to point out a terrible mistake. I see many blackpillers take these numbers and theories to heart, and way too literally. These are just some pointers. I've seen some very handsome guys dropping comments like, well, I'm only 5 feet 10 inches tall, and they start deducting points from themselves in their imaginary rating system. Trust me. 95% of girls would have no problem with a 5 feet 10 inches Chad. The other 5% will be the girls over 5'10", and even they may have no problem. So don't get stuck in numbers and overthinking. Again, these are an approximation and there are always exceptions. On the other hand though, these approximations can tell you a lot about your dating future and explain your dating past. I love bringing up stories and examples of not only myself but also the people I know. Let's start with me. I'm 6 feet, which is considered tall in my country. The average male height here is 5'9". I've never had a problem with a girl due to my height. The tallest girls I dated were around 5'7", so I was still considered tall by them. I would probably face problems with girls over 6 feet. I remember talking to a girl who was 6'1", and she wore high heels too, so she was around 6'4". She was looking down to talk to me. It just didn't look right. Another example was an old classmate of mine who was 6'3". He had a very average face, but the girls were still attracted to him. I guarantee you if he was 5'10" or something, he wouldn't attract anywhere near the same amount of girls. He would be just another guy, and not the quote-unquote tall one as the girls used to call him. It's almost like a status symbol. Anyway, I hope I gave you a good idea of how height impacts your dating life. Now let's talk about the body. We're going to point out some red pill mistakes, and also some black pill mistakes on this one. Many red-pilled guys give too much importance to their body, and they become almost part-time bodybuilders. The question here is why they do it. If they do it for their personal improvement or simply like it, then fine. But many guys believe that their body is the determining factor in their dating life. It's not. Let me explain. Obviously, no girl would want an extremely overweight man, no matter how good looking his face is. And this ties to the next one, excessive weight decreases your facial attractiveness as well. I mean, it's obvious. Your jawline will fade into obscurity, your cheekbones will turn into chubby cheeks, your chin will obtain a little brother underneath it, etc. So yes, there's actually merit to going to the gym, or doing any kind of activity and diet that lowers your body fat percentage. I think the ideal would be around 10 to 15%, depending on the person. But what about muscles? It can definitely increase your approval rate by a bit, but some guys think that if they have a six-pack and big arms they will magically go from being a 4 to being a Chad. That's not happening. My take on this is that every guy should reach the body fat percentage we talked about and develop a little bit of muscle. This can be achieved within 2 years. Then you'll reach the point of diminishing returns. You'll go to the gym for a year straight just to put on 2 pounds of muscle and it's simply not worth it. Unless it is your passion as I mentioned before. But we're talking about dating success here. And I'd like to point out the mistake some blackpill guys do. They think that their face and height are the determining factors, and they're mostly genetic, so why bother? Why should they go through all this trouble just to increase their dating market value by 1 point? They use the blackpill theory as an excuse to be lazy. I get it for guys that are very unattractive, but most guys who are watching this are normies and can be benefited from being fit. 1 extra point can make a big difference, especially if you're around a 6 or 7 out of 10. And in some cases you may even get 2 extra points, like my best friend who was very skinny and became jacked. Huge difference in his appearance, even though his face didn't change. He went from a skinny boy to a fit man, but, and this is our next point of discussion, he had the proper body type. He already had broad shoulders and a narrow waist, so when he added 20 pounds of muscle it showed a lot. There are some body types that don't leave much room for improvement. If you have narrow shoulders and wide hips, then you won't get near as much value from going to the gym. That goes for very short dudes as well. We've all seen the 5'5" jacked guys who look like cartoon characters. So, to sum up, I think it's mandatory for everyone to reach a low body fat percentage because it will increase their face attractiveness as well. I'd also suggest to hit the weights, but don't become obsessed. It makes no difference if you add half an inch to your bicep. The guys who will be benefited the most out of this are the 6s and 7s. If you have a good body type, then you'll almost reach Chad levels. The Chads are already very attractive, so I don't think it will make much of a difference, as long as they are not an extreme case, like very skinny for example. And for the very short guys, or the very facially unattractive, you can still do it for health or personal improvement reasons, but it won't improve your dating life. Again, sorry if it sounds tough, but we are a Blackpill channel. We don't sell any programs or anything, so there's no point in getting your hopes up, like the dating coaches do. Subscribe and click the bell to get notified for the next part, which is going to be about the most important factor, the face. Leave your thoughts in the comments below. Until next time.